What's up, dude? I'll just introduce myself real fast. I'm Isaiah. I'm
Okay.
hosting Taking Time with Token Travelers. With us, we have Ashten, powered by Pain on Twitter. I came across you, Ashton, on Twitter Spaces, but before that, prior to that, I saw a lot of your work and it just really stood out. So I was wondering if you
Oh,
could
thank
give
you,
a brief
homie.
intro. Yeah, no problem.
So yeah, my name's Ashten. I am a photographer and art director. I have a production company with two of my best friends, from like high school, based in Toronto. We can basically work anywhere. Essentially, that's about it. I like to create. I create what I want, what I think is cool. I recently became an art collector. I think that's just like a natural progress of like the creative economy in this space, which I find super interesting. I got into Web3. Basically, we were supposed to do a gallery at the AGO in Toronto. Sorry, AGO, the Art Gallery of Ontario, and got canceled. And essentially, I just kind of I like to do fun projects when I'm like on
Yeah.
my spare time, keep myself busy. So I create this like virtual gallery experience. I'll just send it to you. And from there, I kind of realized I built the key, like a lock before having a key, and NFTs were the key to it. So I've just been like
Oh, you
diving
did
into
that
that, and like,
prior to your NFT, like
yeah,
minting anything.
uh-huh. Yeah. So I think I sent it to you already. It's the art gallery experiment.
Yeah.
Essentially if you look at if you want to pull it up after, you can put the link or whatever. So like that enter button should be like connect your wallet. You would have a token that you essentially had gotten from me that would give you access to this gallery. And then let's just say there's rooms. If you were like a holder of my one of one, you'd have access to a specific room, just by verification of the technology. And that I just kind of like I'm into making unique private experiences for like people that want to be in proximity to me. And I think that like the Web3 technology, the blockchain technology, kind of caters to that to some degree.
Yeah, I think
And
it kind of like stabilizes a community. I think like people would call them
yeah,
fans. Like if I were to
no,
buy
I don't
your
like
work, I
calling them
suppose
fans.
I'd be a fan.
I'd rather be like family, right? Like, to be honest, like, words are very like my first language is French, right? I'm a Jamaican Canadian. My mom didn't really like the Anglophone school system, so she put me in an all French school. And no one in my family speaks French, and um, I like grew up like the same people in my elementary school are the same people I graduated with, right? So like
Right.
it was a
Yeah.
close community. Like I don't know how you guys do it, but like I think it does take a community to raise like
A village
a
to raise a child.
child.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had that. Like, I don't have just one mom. Like, I have like multiple moms in my community. So it's like we're family. So I feel like even with Web3 and what we're building, like, yeah, people want to call them fans. That's kind of degrading,
Yep.
for the most part. But I feel like it's just like my friends or family. Because when I started this journey, Alex, he helped me kind of. I had a couple questions. He didn't know me, and he just really like put his best leg forward with it, and then just helped me out. So like I don't really like to use the word fan, because we're entering this like new phase in it, and like that kind of like goes into a lot of the ethos of my work and what I'm doing on the blockchain. So like language is very powerful, and I think that we gotta like redefine how we communicate because the old world didn't really work. So I don't know if that
Well,
makes
and it's
sense.
all
I
in
hope it does.
progress, right? So like the old world didn't really work. It's like, but it's a building block. Like it's a step.
Yeah, for sure.
And now it's like time to take the next step, in my opinion. And like the next steps are being like, like we call it a creator's economy, like things like that. Or people
Right.
would
That's
say
exactly
like
it.
the age of imagination. Right now we're in the age of information, right? And
Okay.
like data collection, things like that. So like philosophers, I think it's on like Matt Medved's pin tweet. He was talking about, you know, um, philosophers have long heralded the coming of the imagination era, and that being like a
Okay.
place where creators and content creation of artwork and various mediums, because that's something you were talking about, language, and language does shape the way we
Yeah,
think, but most
for
art
sure.
transcends language, right? So like it is
No,
like
that's
a
exactly it.
unifying aspect. Yeah. And and we're at a point where it's like we have all this information. Eventually, like
Hmm.
information, maybe even data collection, will be less valuable than art right now, right? Like all, you know, a ton of the world's economy is in information, but maybe that will
No, for
move.
sure.
And that's just
So
kind of
like
a thought.
you've heard me discuss this on numerous spaces, right? Like, I consider myself a purist, and you can define that however you want. But what I find interesting about art or like symbols in general and communication is that artists or humans have been communicating with symbols and imagery since the dawn of time, right? So when you factor that in, like the dawn of time, we've been communicating in that manner before the English language.
Even our
So when
writing,
I
like metaphorical,
yes,
everything. Yeah.
exactly, right. So if you look at like I don't know if you're into like I write scripts and there's like a formula towards it and something I connected the dots on was like language and writing is just algebra technically speaking. So there's these symbols and these things how we communicate as humans. And I studied psychology at Concordia University in Montreal, so that's the kind of my background. I guess I didn't go to. I'm a self-taught artist. I worked at an art gallery here in Toronto when I was in high school, art core. And I was fortunate enough that like a best friend's dad was like a big art collector and had a gallery, and like he put us on to like his house was basically an art gallery. Like you don't touch the walls basically. Like that's $1 million
Oh yeah,
painting.
yeah.
So for someone like me that was like I came from a single parent income home, it was fascinating towards me. And I was doing graffiti a lot with my friends. So we understood it, but we didn't have the like historical context of what it meant, right? And based on these conversations, like you find out what constitutes as like art or what makes art. It's two things, right? It's like you need patrons and provenance, and like once you break that down, anyone could be an artist. Like if anyone supports you, like right now, like we're on your podcast, like you asked me, I was like, sure, there's gonna be provenance on this. We're gonna upload this. There's gonna be a date when it was uploaded, and then you're gonna see it. That's art, right? You need patrons and provenance, and when you break it down like that, like technically, like anyone's an artist. And how connected to Web3 is that like most people like don't use the tools correctly. Like I can message you if you collect my free mint, I can then message you through the channels of your wallet address. And what I'm getting at with this is that the blockchain technology, the code is in the art. The art is in the code. Sorry.
Oh
So
yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So people misunderstand this, and I'm like, I really believe there's like, yeah, you can have ideas. Ideas can change. People have beliefs, and you can't change a belief system just based on the philosophy of the language and the word that we're using, right? So, because I
art
speak two
art
languages,
like artists have
yeah,
always like
it's,
been the harbingers of progress,
yes,
or a
exactly,
thought
right?
or idea, right? Like that communication. So I think that's where you were
Yeah,
going with it, right? It's like
exactly. Even
art,
on a
not.
context of like women are the centers of creators. Like they're the angels of creativity. Like they can produce life. Like you know what I mean? That they're pushing life through that barrier. So when you think about it, I think people misunderstand this thing that we communicate as art. What does like the innocence of massacre represent? What do these like Renaissance artists represent in our times? And I think that like we gotta dive deeper into the symbolisms and the communication of what that means. And as artists, like we gotta really just like I have three pillars of business and it applies to art. And like turning nothing into something is the highest form of art, and that's business, right? So my three pillars is very simple. Like, do you have its ownership, accountability, and sustainability? And what's cool about Web3 and the technology is I'm able to check off all of those. I can participate, and the technology inherently caters to all three of those pillars. So
Right.
it's easy for me to
It's
use it as a tool.
like these constructs have existed, right? Like those
Yeah.
values that you have, they've existed, but now
Mm-hmm.
that technology allows you to like integrate that further into like what you're doing. And so I wanted to touch on, if it's okay with you, like to back up a little bit. And I think the
Yeah, for sure.
studio that you started with your friends, right, is called Dead in 100.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
that, and that's what you were talking about, kind of like maybe your consultant, you obviously probably have like different skill sets and they probably meet a lot. I think I've been on spaces with you when you're with at least one of them at some point, and I think
So
you've given me a little
some of them
context before.
participate. Some of them participate. I try to like, because I'm the one that's like participating, and like they're kind of adjacent. They haven't like minted anything. I'm just trying to show them like I'm in proximity to a lot of artists that are they don't know about NFTs. They're not really aware of the community that's out there, and they're not even they know about Twitter, but they're not aware of the like I guess the subculture of these pocket communities on Twitter, which inherently that like Twitter is the only real social media we have. It's a very public forum. I could tweet right now. I'm on the fucking podcast, and then a stranger can hop on and participate in the conversation. So that's very important that we understand that like there's closed loops, there's open loops, and if we're truly trying to be social, we need to like be operating on a public loop, and
Twitter's
meaning that
always
anyone could participate.
blown my mind since Spaces came out. I've had an account
Okay,
forever. I didn't
me
start
too.
using Twitter until November or something. But like the idea that we're having these speaker panels on Spaces, and like I've seen like one or two trolls like come up and then they just like whatever, move
Yeah.
on. It's this and that. But out of the hundreds of Spaces I've been on, almost like overwhelmingly positive. That's probably due to like the circles that like I associate with, but it's just like pretty phenomenal to me that like there is some level of accountability in Twitter, that like people don't tend to disrespect each other in these spaces.
Well,
They don't
is
tend to
that your
troll.
experience? Is that
Yeah,
your experience?
yeah. But look,
Okay,
I'm hanging
so
out with
my
Brovo
experience is
and
a little
Tiba.
different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like you're in. So I have people that like I personally don't like we can have discussions. You don't have to agree with me, and I can respect you, and then we can leave and be respectful. I find that people on Twitter, you have like legit people, like the people we hang around with are pretty legit, like, and then you have people that are very like I don't want to use the word emotional, but they're more reactive. Whereas my thing is I'm very proactive. So I've had incidences on Twitter where people misunderstand the context of what I'm expressing or the context of a space, and then they hop in requests and then they want to just be like, I want to be heard, and it's like, yeah, that's cool, but like
Yeah,
did
definitely. I,
you
I know what you're
you
talking about.
just hopped on, right? So I even have people like, okay, me doing this podcast, I kind of had a falling out that I didn't participate, I didn't engage with him. I had a falling out with somebody. I did his first podcast and he's my friend, but it's like I am participating in the community. Like how I want to participate in this community is solely up to me. Like I've, I consider myself an autonomous person. I'm not like really like I rather create the wave and wait than ride a wave and then understand the cycles of that motion, right? And I feel like I like to support people that are in proximity to me. That's just naturally how I've been in my life. And that's how my friends in Toronto, we've supported us like each other, right? Like I have friends that like have done some cool stuff. They've reached out to me and just like said, hey, like I think this would be a cool opportunity. And that's like how my artistic community has like, that's the code that we have amongst ourselves. But so I feel like Twitter is kind of like the wild, wild west. I just choose to participate in a positive manner. Like, and you've heard me talk about this, is like I'd rather just call you in than call you out. Hence why like I do like free mints, like just to stimulate the community. Yes, I'm here and I've minted my art. I have a
And you've
price on
been
my
really
art.
successful with your art that's been minted.
Do you
And
consider
you've
my? Do you? I
shared.
like. Well, how, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it
How do you
depends
measure
what metrics
success?
you have. I
Yeah.
would
Yeah. What do
say,
you measure? What do you measure
you know,
success? Like I want to, because
yeah. Okay. So I think, like, I would measure success as progress in this space, being that it's super new.
Okay.
It's really hard for a lot of people to sell anything. And I think that
Okay.
you have collectors that haven't met you. And that's actually a really big
Yeah.
deal. That means like your art spoke for itself. I would like like I said, I saw your art before I ever heard or saw you, and like
Yo,
it's
I'll tell you
flowing
my
around all
philosophy,
the
bro. If
time.
you want something, just hit me up and then like, tell me your price point. Like, as long as it's on the blockchain, I don't mind. Like for me, it's not about the money. I think money poisons the art. It poisons your process. Like I'm here to have fun and participate
Right, if
and
you start
grow
to
myself.
change your art,
Yeah. Like,
so what mediums do you use? Because it sounds like, um, you have like a lot of diversity in like the realms that you work in. So like I've seen photography, I've seen amazing photography where you've like empowered models. I've seen you like also like
I
send
pay my
some very
models,
subliminal
send them
messages.
contracts. I get like the cool thing about the technology is like, look, I pay my models, off the top. We have contracts, and then I'm like, hey, like the cool thing about this blockchain technology, I could pay my past collaborators in the future. Like, do you know how crazy that is? That's never
Without,
happened in my
you could
lifetime.
structure it to where you don't even have to do anything, right? People don't
That's
realize
my
a
point,
lot of
bro.
people's wallets aren't myself, right? I'm talking about myself. My wallet's not in my will. But especially once I have, like, I own smart contracts that I'm minting out,
Yeah,
right?
me too.
I
Me
need to
too.
like make sure like that's passed on because people may exchange, and I think likely will be exchanging and transferring some of the art that you sold on the blockchain for like it'll outlive you. It will definitely outlive
No, but
you,
that's the whole
and it will
point.
refer
So
to
you
that
want,
smart contract, and it'll dump into your
yeah,
wallet. And that's got to be there for somebody, whether that's a museum, maybe it's the
for
Art
sure.
Gallery of Toronto, maybe it's a brother, maybe it's a sister, mom, dad, great great grandchild, whatever it is. Sorry, I got off topic, but you just keep bringing up the
No, no, no.
technology,
You're
which is
you're
kind of
actually
exciting.
you're actually on topic because you started this conversation. The question was, you have a production company called Dead in 100. So now, what will you leave behind? The real thing about this is we still study Shakespeare 500 years later. He left behind these plays that were used to entertain, the monarchy, and we're still studying it. His impact is he's okay. For context, the Bible has 5,000 different words that's used in a book that's archaic. Shakespearean plays have 12,000 different words. He was inventing words in the context of the times that we still use today. What will you leave behind, bro? That's so this technology is very similar to my philosophy, which goes back into Dead in 100. What will you leave behind? It's about legacy, right?
Yeah, I
That's what
would say
provenance
so.
allows,
I think though, yeah, I mean, essentially, it does boil down to legacy, especially something immutable, allegedly permanent, pending apocalypse, whatever. But
right?
okay, so like Dead in 100, like what are some of the things that you do on behalf of Dead in 100 and maybe some of your friends? And has that been like your main like stability since graduating? As like it sounds like that's you
So
guys have worked on that a long
okay,
time.
so I went to okay, so essentially I got into Concordia for biomed. I was like, fuck, man, like I'm in a lab. I like socializing. I wanted, like, I was a graffiti artist. I was kind of like, you go through these emotions. You're trying to figure out yourself. I went lateral for a very long time. And I essentially just like, I went straight to second year, as opposed to like doing year one because I did the IB. So my thing was I got into this like I skipped 1 year of university based on this like international baccalaureate. And I was just like in labs and I was like, this is boring. I switched out my program. I took psychology and business with a focus on like organizational psych, which is simply like all it is it's HR, but not on the individual level, on the organization and department level of a company, right? So it's just like building teams and working, and it kind of like thankfully all the skills I had translated. Like I said, I went vertical for a really long time. Then I went lateral, and then I went vertical. So for the most part, like it's kind of like it helped me. I'm just a problem solver. Like I can break it down very meta. Like I consult, not on not on my advice. That's a consulting firm. That's
Right.
just my independent thing. But I have a corporation with my friends, and we produce high quality content, videos, commercials, and we do it at a custom price point because I noticed that like when I'm communicating to engage as a freelancer, that companies have concerns. They either want to like save money or they want to just use their budget at an affordable price. So it's about investigating the concerns and what like your client is confused about. And those skills were actually like something that I learned while working at customer service or customer relations at Rogers, a telecommunication company. So for the first time in our like with globalizing the communication amongst artists through Twitter Spaces, I'm my own customer service agent. Like before, you talk to a curator, and then like the artist would send like verbiage, and then they would communicate it on behalf of the artist. Like, you can talk to me direct, and I think that's beautiful.
Yeah,
So,
because
have
well,
you
I
seen
think
my
there's
the
as a
website?
project manager, I'm usually a middleman,
Oh, okay,
right?
yeah, you
So
get
like
that's
I'm like
exactly
I
it.
see the pros and cons, but I think like definitely like working with somebody that is going to create and execute this vision,
Okay,
like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
hands down. Maybe post, that's where somebody like me would come in, right? Like okay, like you guys have ironed out your vision, the scope of work, the content that
yeah.
you'd like, and
There you
then
go. You're
maybe reel
talking the
somebody in.
language.
Maybe I'm just like scheduling everything after that or whatever. But so what is something that like what's I guess maybe not, I don't want to say what are you most proud of that you've created, but like what's a piece of content that like maybe it was just you look back at it as a stepping stone that kind of
Okay.
like pivoted everything, or maybe that's what enabled you, you were like, all right, I'm out of psychology. Like what was that moment?
Okay. So I think you're talking about like the moment like when I owned it. So there's two moments for me, right? I haven't discussed the first one. The first one was in high school. My school's strictly academic, and like we had some talented artists. Like you're in California, my boy is actually he does this thing called Unwrapped in Steel, where he literally puts up art all over LA, and then you can like he literally gets people to snatch it, and then all this like so he I've known him since elementary school. We're all graffiti artists. We had a graffiti crew, and we used to hang out on this like store at Queen Spadina on Queen Street called the Bomb Shelter. It was like an art hub. This was before like you know NFTs and everything. It was just like a hub. Like if you ever did graffiti, you would tap into this place. It was like that's the go-to spot in Toronto if you're a graffiti artist. So in high school, it's strictly academic. We didn't have any arts programs. We had some talented artists. So our school was like, hey, like we will pay you guys to make art, and we're gonna auction it off. Like I made a painting, I painted it, and I still have it. I'll send you a picture of it after. And someone bought it for $1,500. Now, for someone like me, that when you're like 16 years old, you're like, whoa, and like you're living in these hectic and unsafe environments. I was like, this is crazy. But because I was like, okay, that happened, I donated all my money, to a cause because that's just how I am. And at the same time, like it was cool that someone appreciated it. I had like a patron that was like, hey, we'll commission you. I didn't understand the mechanics of it, but I understood that this was like a beautiful thing that like helped me realize that like this is really possible, right? Funny enough, imagination, life is your creation, right? So that's how I started, and then tied into this like family friend, Fabrice Marcolini, who was the owner of Artcore. Essentially had like really just like took me under his wing, made me work in his gallery. And then I got really good experience of the art world. Like I'm talking about dinners with like, the conglomerate of people who own all of Andy Warhol shit that moves on the market. It's just small stuff like that. And I'm from like, like I won't talk about it here, but I'll send you, well, for context, after this pod, I'll send you a reference of like the framework I was operating out of. Like if I had gone to the high school in my neighborhood, like most of my friends I grew up with, like I'd probably be dead in jail or like not deported. I'm born here, but you get what I'm saying? It's like,
Well,
so I went to
so
school straight.
you mentioned, do you think that you're so it sounds like you're grateful that you went to a different school, or
Oh man, that was the best thing. Yeah, that like okay, speaking another language basically for me, like it's not a flex or anything. Like it's good for your mind
yeah.
to articulate and think in a different language. It's actually they say that there's a study that was done, and that's an easy way to freeze brain disease if you learn another language. But for me, speaking another language isn't about speaking another language. It's about understanding another culture.
I agree with that. I agree that it's about understanding another culture to an extent. I think it's also
Yeah.
about like it's along the same lines. I want to like enhance that a little bit, but
No, no, go
um
for it. I'm just talking.
like it's understanding another perspective. Like these languages
Hmm.
limit like I think in English, and
Okay. How do you count money?
in English.
Oh,
English,
okay.
English, English. I know very little Spanish. Like my grandparents, they're their parents wouldn't let them speak Spanish, even though they only knew
That's
Spanish.
messed up.
It was so, I mean, but that's my great grandfather, and his thought was basically like he wanted, it is messed up, but he wanted them to assimilate. He wanted them to be as
No, I get
successful.
that. I
Yeah,
get
yeah.
it.
But it is a
But
shame,
no one in my
right?
family speaks French, so I had to assimilate into another culture that was completely foreign to me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, so it's
so that's why it's
opposite
like, yeah,
actually.
it's
But have you
opposite.
seen
Yeah,
Arrival? The movie
no,
Arrival?
I haven't.
So it's like these
Hmm.
aliens drop down, and then, it's typical, like the military wants to bomb them all, but it ain't working. And then like the aliens speak a language, but it's only a written language, and it's like in
So
loops.
know what's cool about this? Okay, I want to invite. If I'm going to try to invite somebody, I'm going to see if they're available. Let me just message them.
Yeah, you can send them the link,
Basically,
no problem too.
yeah, I did. So they might join. So what's funny about this is like we're talking about this with my friend. She's in Korea, but like I was talking about when I used to do events, right? I booked this artist called Keith 8, and oh, there you go. Is that her? Oh, my bad, homie. Oh, is this Cvatic? Okay, let's do Cvatic first. What's up, Cvatic?
Hey, how you doing?
What's up,
What's up,
dude?
bro?
This is I haven't been able to put a face to the name before, so it's nice to see you.
Me
But
neither.
I
This is my
wanted to
first time.
finish, like we were talking about languages a little bit, and Arrival. Eventually, like these aliens came, and then a linguist figured out their language, and her whole thought process changed. Like everything, like it's blown out of proportion, maybe, but like she was then able to see like past, present, future, like what it all means because like the language unlocked like that way of thinking for her, and it was a good way to convey that like these Germanic languages, these Latin languages, like people perceive things like we're inclined to certain dispositions, and I think language has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, so even just to elaborate the point, you know what? Does this look okay? I'm just gonna have the
No,
other
we look
person
great.
hop on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do like 15 minutes. I think it'll be cool and we can get back to it. But I think that like language to me, going back to my initial point, which was like humans have been communicating through symbols and essentially like imagery for a long time. So like I did a book in for this Korean artist Keith 8, and he's in South Korea, but he understands hip hop. Like my the person I'm gonna bring on, oh there she is, Sook. So me and Sook were talking about, hi Sook, what's up? This is Cvatic, or Steven. So me and Sook were talking about this, and it's like, you know, people don't necessarily understand maybe the lyrics, but they understand the culture. So this guy's a hip hop artist in South Korea. I booked it and talking to him, he's like, he's more knowledgeable about hip hop than I was because people study. You have to study. They study this stuff, So it's beautiful. Hey, Sook, what's up?
I'm
We're
good,
talking about
Ashten.
South
Thank you for
Korea.
inviting me here. Hi,
No, I
Steve.
think this is super cool,
Hi.
right? Like, I think that like I want to make it public. I think you guys are dope artists. I met Sook. She's actually one of my collectors. I didn't even know it. She's smart. She collects from a different wallet. I don't know if you guys want to show your project. I kind of want to just like open up the dialogue a little bit. We're Sook, and Steven, we're talking about like language, culture, and do you speak Korean, correct?
Definitely.
So how I understand it, like I have some Korean friends. Or you guys have a similar thing in terms of in French we have hierarchies. So how you communicate? Do you want to touch maybe about that and how does that play into your culture or the communication
Definitely.
of the culture? And
Actually,
Spatic
we
speaks
have
Russian. We can go to him after.
actually there's a different different language for people who are senior or people
Okay,
you have met for the first time. And then
okay,
there's a different way of conversing for friends and people that you are familiar with.
okay,
So,
okay.
and mostly we use yo at the end to show respect. So like,
Yes, it's all about respect. Okay,
right. So 안녕 is like hi, and then 안녕하세요 would be like a respectful version.
okay, okay.
Hmm.
I
So
would
maybe Spatic.
say
Do you?
maybe
Oh,
American style English is one of the only languages I know that sort of doesn't have like that.
Hmm.
It's one
respect.
of the, yeah, yeah. I mean, in Spanish for sure, you have familiar and like formal,
Hmm.
familiar, formal, familiar, formal, and it's all about like conveying that respect. And I think like maybe we communicate that in other ways in American English. Like I'll certainly like I don't know, but definitely not as formally as other languages. And I actually enjoy that because it is another, like, just those inflections or rules of formality, they convey like an admonishment of sorts, and something like people kind of get their dues a little bit, you know, or it's also humbling to the person that's like talking to their grandfather, things like
So
that.
Mhm.
so it's funny in French we have vous, right? So that is it's like, am I addressing someone of noble status or a commoner? And it's about the respect. So like I would be like vous êtes, that would indicate to you that I'm speaking to someone that's outside of my class. If he's in my class,
Wow.
I would talk to him like a commoner. So there's this hierarchy. I don't know, Cvatic. Do you have the same thing in Russian? Because I know you speak Russian. I didn't even know that. I thought you were like a
Yeah,
Jersey
no,
kid.
no, Russian doesn't have anything like that. It's pretty basic. There's no like
That's just hard to
language
learn.
class barrier or anything. Yeah, it's hard to learn, but there's no I don't even think we have I guess we do have gendered words, but it's not like as intertwined with our language as it is with like, French.
Okay, okay.
Right.
You,
So
you,
this is really cool. Suk, I haven't ran into you on Twitter, but I have ran into
you
Cvatic.
have, you
And
have, you
really,
have.
so what's your
You
Twitter
can,
handle?
It's WMFG underbar E.
I'm not sure, Ashton. But
she was in the space
Maybe
that we were in. We were in the same space. She came up and
I
she's
was
this is the
almost
first time
about
I've
to run
doxed her, and
away.
it's
well, what I
yeah. And I
wanted
was like, come up and
was
share your work.
that this is a little, this is also going to be just an audio podcast, but in this case
Mhm.
right now the screen's being recorded. So thank you guys for jumping in,
Oh, you
and
should ask her if she's allowed to record because I know in South Korea, no pictures, nothing. Are you okay? This is recorded. Sorry.
No, no, I knew that
Oh,
in
okay, okay. I'm just
advance.
making.
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I
it's
think you're
fine.
thinking
Yeah,
of the other Korea.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
No, no,
the other
bro.
Korea.
The so if you guys want to, maybe for the visual portion, if we can spins like, okay, so this is kind of a launch of this podcast. So thinking
Mhm,
of names still, it's probably going to be taking time with Token Travelers. I have another project and I just want it to be associated, and it's about like just getting to know like other
mhm,
cultures, getting to understand art, how that correlates to other
mhm,
cultures, or how it unifies people and how it
mhm,
inspires people to travel, which is like the other half of that,
mhm,
right? And I think travel
mhm.
inspires art inspires travel. That's why photography is
Wow.
used so much in marketing. So if you guys could like get some windows ready and then maybe go
Mhm,
through a little bit of your work and a little bit of an
mhm,
idea behind it, and then try to give it like an audible description as well, and then we'll tag on
mhm.
it, and that way people that are just listening can get an idea of what you're showing us, or maybe they'll want to refer back and see your work. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely.
Okay, so maybe we can go Ashton and Sook and then Cvatic. I don't know,
Sure.
Ashton. You
Well,
might,
how about
let's go
let's start
Cvatic.
with them for a second. Yeah, let's go
Okay.
Static and then Souk, and then
Yeah.
we can
Okay.
just
I have
yeah.
no idea how
But I
to
don't know
do
what
I just share my
the
screen
time.
or
Yeah, so you'll click share screen, and then a
okay.
window will pop up, and then you can pick the window you want to share. So instead of picking the whole screen,
Okay.
maybe just the window that has
Yeah,
something
so it's
that you
just
could
like
share.
Discord.
Yeah, so Svatix, I don't know if you remember that late night space a couple weeks ago, man. We were up like DGen hours, and he has like a lot of surreal art. I think very high
Oh,
quality
it's
images.
dope, man.
The
I love
burning
Static work.
piano. Can we just go over that one?
Oh yeah, that one was really cool. All right, let me figure out how to do
It's
this. All
pretty
right, share a
fire.
window. Okay. Can't share your screen. Go to system preferences. Ugh. All right,
Oh,
hold on.
maybe I
You know
can pull
what?
it
Just
up
just
too.
talk it. Just he'll do it in the back end.
Yeah, let's just
Just
talk.
talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just talk,
Oh,
bro. Like, don't get in the technical aspects of it.
okay. All right. So essentially, I actually it actually started with a podcast. I was listening to this podcast, and every week they would have like they were also musicians, so they would play their songs, and I was like, hey, I kind of want to like meet these people because I've been listening to them for a while. I want to hang out with them. I want to get to know them. So I hit them up. I'm like, let's do a photo shoot. And so we started talking about the kind of work we wanted to do. And I'm like, all right, what would be like your dream shoot? She's like, I want to put a piano like in the forest. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Let's go from
That's
there.
fire.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, why don't we set it on fire? And
in the middle of a forest. But you live in a
yeah,
pretty wet
not
area. Full disclosure,
no,
you know.
no, I
No.
don't. No. Well,
Well, it was
all
in
right. Well,
water,
here's how I
right?
did it.
It was in
Yeah,
water.
so yeah, the original idea was let's do it in the woods, and then I was like, all right, let's do it in the woods next to the lake just in case, and let's have a lot of safety measures. And so the pictures you see of it in the woods, it's like 3 feet from the lake. It's just sneakily right next to a giant body of water just in case. And then eventually we did put it in the water. And then I have a whole like video on YouTube. Actually, if you want to pull that up, I'll talk through that. Basically, it shows how the whole thing happened. The piano was a last minute idea too, and we weren't sure if we were going to do it. And I was on Facebook Marketplace, and I found a piano 100% for free, and had to find a bunch of friends with pickup trucks to grab it. And the way that we had the fire, so it was I guess as controlled as I can make it. So I had my friend hiding behind the piano, coming up with lighter fluid and just pouring it on the top, lighting it on fire, and then ducking behind. And like every 10 seconds, he would have to reignite it because lighter fluid, it's not like gasoline; it burns away quickly. So it's the safest way to have like a contained flame, I guess. And she just kept playing. We shot for like 8 hours. She kept playing. The piano worked the entire time, even at the end of the shoot when it's all burned and charred. I guess we didn't burn any parts of the piano that actually affected play, like any of the keys or anything, all the hammers. So it still worked after everything. It was an insane experience, and yeah, it was really cool.
Should
Oh,
I?
What do you
nice,
get
you
when
got
you?
it.
Should I
This
just
is
do
dope.
no audio? So he's backing.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, backing the truck up with the piano that you got for free. So this was
Yes.
the model's idea to put the piano in the woods, right?
Yeah. Well, it was like a collaboration. She just had this idea of like, I want to be playing piano. That's my main instrument. And then we were like, all right, what's a cool place? I live in the woods. All right, the woods it is, big, wide, open area. And then we went from there and moved it into the lake and set it on fire and just kept adding and adding and like compounding ideas.
This is dope. So that's what you look like, bro. Finally
Yes, this
dox
is me.
yourself.
Yeah.
This is fire.
No,
I
I'm
love
actually
this.
I'm on Discord every night on this
Oh my
setup and
gosh.
streaming
I'm not on
Lightroom and
Discord.
editing. Yeah,
I
Look at
it's
told
that
my
great.
homie, I'm like,
shot.
you gotta do this thing.
Oh
That's a
man.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yo, I
even
think
before we
yeah,
lit it on
cool.
fire, it was
about
cool.
That's dope. Yo, this is dope, man.
Do
And
you
like,
have like
I give you credit.
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I this is what I love, man. I love like we can just participate in like I've never met any of these people in real life, and that's what's cool about the space is like I can just like talk to Cvatic, I can talk to Sook, and at the end of the day, like we're in different parts of the world, and like I can communicate with the artist. This is a cool video because he's showing you the process, and I think this is like a very valuable skill that you should like put into your arsenal. Like show the process, like this is like I made this work and here's how I did it. So that gives you credibility, so
It really looks like you
Yeah.
guys had fun too.
this
Like
is
Oh yeah,
dope,
it
homie.
was.
I
And a lot
enjoy
of people
process videos a lot. This is kind of next level just because of like what you were doing, I guess. But yeah, it looks like it got pretty hot.
Yeah, oh yeah. A lot of people thought it was like Photoshop, and then I put out the video. I was like, nope.
No, this is dope, man. Thank you. And I know, like, Sook, do you have anything you want to share? I just kind of want to highlight like the power of the space, and like, thank you guys for like hopping on and just to share this because like I think it would be super valuable. Definitely follow Cvatic, definitely follow Sook. I hope you can put links to their stuff after, and just like this is what like Web3 to me. It's not like we're not there yet, but there's a community of talented artists, and like we can just participate. And thanks everyone for like just you know participating with me in this cool like podcast. And this is what it's about, right? Just like vibing and building
Yeah,
relationships.
definitely. The photos are just fire. I mean,
Yeah.
there's actual fire, but
Literally.
it's like so much fire, and the
Oh,
modeling
that's
is
you,
so
homie?
beautiful in the woods as well. So really appreciate that. Is that on OpenSea or Foundation? Where is it?
Foundation. I actually think.
Foundation.
Yeah,
Right?
there's only one left in the collection. It's basically sold out. And
Wow.
yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite photo shoots I've ever done. Yeah,
This
that's
is
the very
dope.
end. It's still burning. She's still playing.
Well, okay, so how about you jump in a little bit too? There's like kind of a fun fact, right? So you left the piano there overnight, yeah?
Yeah, all right. So this is where I kind of feel bad, but I kind of feel confused. So we shot like, 12 hours, set up and shoot and everything. And at the end of the day, we pulled it out of the lake. It still worked. We were like, all right, great. It looks charred, looks cool. So we just left it on, like, I guess you could call it the beach. It's not really a beach, it's a gravel beach. So we just left it there. We're like, let's go home. I live 3 minutes away. We'll pick it up as soon as we wake up. And I wake up the next day, I go there, it's gone.
Dude, I'd be kind
Somebody
of low key bummed because I think that piano's collectible, you know?
Oh yeah, no, and it looked so cool. It was literally a half charred piano with charred roses on it, and it still perfectly worked. So somebody must have just came earlier than I did, saw it, and somehow was able to get a truck and 5 friends to carry the
For
700-pound
sure.
piano out of there. It's crazy.
That's
I'll never
dope.
know who took it, but it's gone now.
It was
That's
probably
amazing,
Ivory
man.
Keys too or something.
Yeah.
Yo, I appreciate you sharing this, man, homie. Thanks a lot. I think we might do a space later. I don't know, like, how you feeling? Like, I think it'll be cool. I know, Sook is like, what time is it over there, Sook?
It's almost 4:30 a.m.
Oh my
Damn. Okay,
gosh.
yo. I'm so sorry.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yo, let's. I would love to have you share your work. I think that, like, it's really cool what you do yourself. Especially being a woman artist in this space, and like, I've enjoyed our conversations. I know, like, you're like, why are you so dry in DMs? But I'm like, it's how I communicate. I was a little faded too, so. But I love what you're doing, especially as like someone who's participating, like, I was shocked that you even collected some of my work before, privately, which I really appreciate. And I love your work. I always say this, I'm not really into feet, but she has a cool project. And she's like trapped. Her story is crazy. Like, I don't know if you want to share your story. Like, I know we've had a small dialogue about it, and I think that's like super
Uh,
valuable. That could inspire somebody.
yeah. If you, I just want to make it short and compact.
Yeah, no,
But it really fits well with Token Travelers trying to convey with his channel, because it's about culture and actually my feet that's traveling. So it like fits perfectly into, I think, what you're trying to convey to your audience. I think like feet, there's so much bias and taboo for feet. I just didn't realize until I launched my collection. It's like when they see photos of feet, they're just like, "Oh, I'm not a feet person," or they're like, "Oh, you people who have feet fetish will probably buy your art." But I didn't
It's just
start
like
with
it
that
has to be so
intention.
polarizing,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Like they
it's super polarizing.
Yeah, I mean, people make NFTs of nude models and, boobs and
no, for
titties
sure.
everywhere, but they just have like this to feed. And like this got me really curious. And I did like a lot of like reading papers on feet as well, like cultural meaning of feet. And,
Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
yeah, but I guess there was this thing like evolved around feet that you should cover it up. That's why you wear a sock and
hmm.
also shoes. But back in those old days, nobody wore that. Like we couldn't afford that even, right? But then, like in Asian culture, if you show like the soles of your feet, it's considered rude. So when you sit, you have to like bend on your knees or like not show your feet because it
Wow.
touches the ground, like it touches the earth, so it's considered filthy or like not clean, right? So I kind of get like this cultural bias or like taboo against having feet photos. But what I started out from is not as a professional photographer like Ashton or Steve. Like I wasn't a photographer. Actually, I was an NFT collector for a long time. So like now I have like 300 NFTs in my MetaMask and elsewhere. But
That's
after
crazy.
seeing yeah, after seeing these NFT communities like give to their holders, trying to benefit the community and how it's evolving, I just wanted to take more active part in it. And then one day I was just like flipping through my iPhone photos, and then I realized something really strange. It's the fact that I took a lot of photos on my feet. And I asked to myself, like, why did I do this? But then I realized, sometimes when you try to take a photo of a scene that you really appreciate, there isn't like much around you. Like if I'm not a professional photographer, it's more the case, right? So like you can't set up like perfectly to get the scene. But then I just took it like where I was, like because it conveys so much of the feeling, my mood, like the atmosphere around me, and I just felt like this is the right moment to capture. So that's how I like got to launch and start my collection. And it's I already minted two collections. So there's a Genesis collection and then the second collection. So it's all photos of my feet, but it's in all different places. Like there's one in Vietnam, there's one from Malaysia, US, Palau, I don't know, so many different places like London. But you know, in the descriptions, you'll see that it wasn't intended. Like my feet wasn't intended to be in that place, right? It's not like a perfect setup, but I just got to enjoy that moment and then just feel like, you know, this is the right time to seize the moment. And then like going back, I'm trying to like build up this collection more because when you see those pictures, you want to be there as well. Like I want to build that kind of like connection. So like a lot of women artists who are friends now with me, they tell me at first when they see the photos of my feet, they were like, oh, what's she doing? Like she's trying to sell photos of her feet, right? At first, they didn't want to be friends with me. Even if I use the hashtag women in NFTs, they don't follow me. But then when I slowly started like doxing myself and I'm like, you know, there's like meaning behind my collection. I'm not trying to
Can
go
I
for
comment
collect.
on that? Like
Yeah,
I was
sure.
gonna say earlier, actually, when it was just Ashton and I, he brought up like a little bit art through the ages, and art, although it does stand alone, often I think, just like with anything else, context is hugely important, right?
For
And
sure.
Mhm.
so, like, yeah, hearing you talk about your collection already, like, I'm like, I need to see it. I need to see it, and I don't want to like start fidgeting with
Yeah,
everything
what's
Yo,
the
you
because
name
I
of
should you
your
should see it.
collection?
Yo, you should see it, bro. Okay,
yeah, I
so
want to
can I just
Yeah,
say
see.
a
stream your
funny
screen. Let's
a
see it.
funny
The
thing?
name of
I
my collection is WMFG.
And what's your
I wear
I've been trying to
t-shirt.
find your Twitter while we've been on. I
oh
cannot
I'll
find
send
you.
it to you. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I need that so
I
I can
retweeted
find
it.
the collection. But it's just the
So,
context is super important, and then also like it is. I probably would have been guilty of the same thing. It depends. I haven't seen the collection yet, but I would probably assume like somebody has a foot fetish or something similar like that,
Mm-hmm.
and but probably
It,
not.
it,
Based on what you're describing, that sounds a little bit like I wouldn't be led there. But feet are like
mm-hmm.
also, you know, like people go when you go to the beach, they're like, I just want to feel the sand
Mm-hmm.
between my toes, or they
Right,
go, I want to feel the
definitely. Yeah.
grass under my feet. And I've
Mm-hmm.
been for years really intentional about like taking my shoes and socks off to go outside a
Mm-hmm.
little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
because like I think it's important, not just from like an anatomical perspective, but like an intimacy, like a belonging sense, right? Like,
Right,
am I really in
definitely.
the moment? It's almost like
Mm-hmm.
these shoes, right? They're like barriers from like, and
Right.
maybe not in all scenarios, but I feel like if I go camping, I'm not camping till I take my shoes and socks off. Like
Uh-huh.
then I'm there.
Definitely.
So that's
It's a
why,
way
Yeah.
to ground yourself. Excuse the pun.
yeah,
you
exactly,
guys can hear
and
me, right?
literally, what's that?
Yeah, like touching grasses, like the
Yes.
word like itself, it just expresses like you really want to like immerse yourself in that environment and you know the entire mood. So I really appreciate that you guys like, you know, you guys are sharing this with me. Like I'm not the only person.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so I felt actually I minted first minted my Genesis 2 months ago, exactly 2 months ago. And then actually the first sale happened really quick. As soon as I minted my Genesis, one of my edition got sold. And then the holder DM'd me and he was like, I don't have a foot fetish. Don't think I'm a strange person. Then if you are strange, the person that minted me, the artist, is a strange person. That's that's like how we made the combo. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad that you collected one of my piece and understood what this is coming from. So
Right.
now when people when people look down at their feet, I hope that they, it reminds them of the collection and just pushes the urge to go out to the grass, touch ground, and really like meet people, because like COVID just shut a lot of us down in our homes and feel detached from the community. And that's why people are more like in the Web3 space and like in NFT spaces and all that, because they miss people, they miss society, they miss going out, but they can't do it as much as they did prior to COVID, I think. So yeah, now I have really good friends, and I already have like two collaboration pieces, one with a music NFT artist and another one with a motion artist. So, there's various ways I can collaborate with other artists, because now they feel and they know like what this collection is about.
It's yeah. I think I had to see it right now. I was hoping you can send the link because I've been looking for a little bit. If
Hmm.
you can send the
Hmm.
link in the chat, and then
Uh,
the
Let me
second
do that right
thing
now. Yeah.
is what's
Hmm.
Yeah, you know what we can
compelling
also
you.
do is
Yeah, go ahead.
we can also just like after we'll shout you guys out, we can add the links at the bottom of the YouTube video.
Oh yeah,
Just so
for
it's easy.
sure. Yeah,
I think that's the easiest way. Go on.
definitely. And then yeah, so we'll do that. And then I wanted to
Hmm.
know from you, like, you brought up that you're in different places for a lot of these photographs. And
Hmm.
so I was
So
Yeah,
Sook
wondering,
goes
definitely.
everywhere.
yeah, I was wondering what's driving you to travel. What's having you do that?
I think ever since I was young, I earned to travel. Like I learned the value and the experience that I get from traveling, from meeting people. And like in Korea, people are so like stressed out and pressured to learn English. And when they're young, like parents force you to go to the States to learn English, like your mother language. But we don't speak English at all. We have Korean, our own language, right? But for me, like no one pressed me, no one forced me to go abroad, because I just wanted to venture out myself. I had so much curiosity and I wanted to learn more about the world. So like I earned to travel basically, and also I was actually I had a white collar job, so it's in the middle. I still live in the most biggest city in Korea, like Seoul.
Yeah,
So um
everyone lives there, right? Like it's a large
almost
percentage of
a
the
third,
population.
like a third of the population. Every Koreans you meet live in Seoul, but living in such a big city and just living such a bustling and busy life, I always miss like going out and touching, sands and grasses, and exploring the world that's above and beyond a city.
I see now, and it totally makes sense. Also, you're wearing a WMFG shirt, so you're wearing your merch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, is that where my feet
Yo,
go?
yeah,
Now I get it.
yeah,
Okay.
man. That's
There's
because
a
yo, she has the
mm,
hardest
there's
project.
a photo.
yeah. This is super cool. In fact, I thought maybe the context would help. Anyone that was like found this collection polarizing, it's crazy because I think everybody has like seen similar photographs before.
For
By
sure.
like, yeah, here's you're at a beach. It's not even of your feet. It's just like showing where you are, and it's
Hmm.
actually from like a more realistic perspective. Like if you're laying down on the beach and you're just shooting like a really good shot, you've got a book on your lap, you see reflections on the water. These are also just really nice shots, and like some of them are really
I
vibrant.
agree.
Yeah,
And you know what I love about this
I
is
think
that
this
like
was my
okay, so
favorite.
I joke with Sook about not liking feet. Personally, it's not my thing, and I don't like fetish shame. But there's something to talk about this, and even all of us as artists, it's like there's three C's of like the arts, right? It's like concept, the context, and then the content. So I hope I said that right.
I like that.
Concept, context, concept. So, I did a video on Instagram that was about to go viral in like 22 minutes. It was me eating a taco. I cut directly to me licking someone's feet, and I go back to the restaurant, and I did it really funny. But it was like I'm eating a taco, it switches to a different location. I'm licking feet. It was my first time ever, and then it goes back to me wiping my mouth as a joke, and it went viral like in 22 minutes. 77 shares, and the person, like, it was my girlfriend, and she was like, man, like she works in a corporate setting, and her face was in it, and she was just like, yo, like, delete that. And I was like, all right, cool, I'll delete it. I deleted it. But the point is that you kind of, like, as an artist, we blur the lines of stuff. So this triangle, and for my triangle, essentially the top C is concept, and this is why I want to bring you guys in to talk about this. We've spoken in spaces, and I love the work that you guys do, because in my philosophy, you guys go really high on the concept, like, and going to, like, the next point is, like, the beauty of it. Like, we just heard Sook's story. She was a collector, then she turned into an artist. I know Cvatic is an artist. We're all artists, but eventually in this creator economy, what's going to end up happening is that the people who got collected will become the new collectors over time, and that's what's beautiful about this space. We've seen this in hubs where, like, the new creator economy, this digital nomad. So, like, by these connections and relationships, like, it's always cool to do business, but, like, let's form a relationship. Like, Sook invited me to Seoul, and I'm like, yo, dope, I'm down. Like, I don't travel anywhere unless I have, like, a person that's on the ground that could show me. Like, that's just how I travel. So, like, when I went to LA, it was like the same thing, right? If I go to New York, it's the same thing. And, like, I feel like that's really beautiful because we globalize the communication amongst our community. And that's something that's, like, don't take that lightly, because it's, like, it's very powerful.
Waleed, 2 days ago, I was like, I want F1, Formula One tickets to Vegas. I heard they're coming to Vegas.
Okay.
And then he goes, well, I've got Formula One tickets in Abu Dhabi. So if you want to come here, like, I'll
For
get
sure.
you
And
these
that's what
tickets.
it's about.
And I was like, dude, I was like, careful, I'll probably act on it, but he's probably serious, and it's just really cool. And to your point, one Sook, my favorite was the one in Malaysia, because I really like the cultural, like the unique experiences that you can't experience anywhere else. And that photograph
for sure.
like seems to do that for me. And and then to Ashton's point, I've often gone on trips, and, like, 4 days later, I feel like I didn't waste my time, but I have, like, this, like, it's not even that far back in my mind. It's, like, kind of a conviction that, like, I didn't do what I came here to do. Like, I didn't get immersed in the culture.
That sucks.
Yeah, and, like,
but you have to. That's the most important part of traveling.
You took the time, and it's like, I'm not there to be, like, sipping martinis poolside, and that's fine if that's what people want to do. I can do that in my backyard, as far as I'm concerned. Turn off the phone, get a martini, like, mix it yourself. You can make it just the way you like it. Get to a pool, but, like, I'm like, more often than not, that's how I experience my trips. So I really like what you said about how, like, the communities that we're building allow for you to, like, go on, like, really viable, like, probably pretty fulfilling and much better trips than if you were to just go somewhere by yourself and try to figure it out. Although there's a lot to be said for that. It takes a long time to, like, learn about a culture and get to talk to certain people and do those things. In fact, that's
also,
why,
I want to be respectful.
I
want to be respectful of everyone's time. You guys, like, we'll finish this and then closing remarks maybe, and then I can let you guys go after this. I really appreciate it. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut the.
No, yeah, you're good. No, you're good. We have to wrap it up for sure.
I was just going to say, for me, Web3 is super important. It's kind of ironic a little bit. We're talking about, like, traveling, interacting with different cultures, because for those who don't know, like, I have agoraphobia. I don't leave my house. All my photos are made, like, in the backyard and front yard around the house.
I never knew that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't, and I'm always happy when they can't tell, hey, this photo is taken, like, 10 feet from this one. So
oh my God.
I don't travel at all. Like, I can't even get to the grocery store, at least for the past 3 years. Before that, I used to travel all the time. But Web3 definitely allowed me, to interact with people in a way that I couldn't before. And it's really cool. It's been amazing.
Yeah, we've talked about it a little bit, and I was just thinking about, like, how much you still get done, like, given certain... like,
I think he's the hardest working person in Web3 right now, bro.
I linked another. I wish I linked another video showing kind of another shoot if we have time for it. If you want to skim through it,
Yeah, I think I'd like to kind of end on that note. If that's
Yeah,
okay
yeah.
with you guys. Ashton, I feel
Yeah, we
like
can. We'll plug in everything. I know. Sorry, but how about you guys just shout out your stuff and then send the links, and we'll just plug it in on the YouTube channel.
All
yeah,
right, sure. Just
yeah.
don't share that last one that it's
Oh
unfinished.
yeah. No worries. Don't worry. I got you, bro. Just we'll communicate. We'll start a group chat, and you guys can like just
I
And I
appreciate
appreciate
you
everyone
guys.
coming up.
Yeah, this
Yeah, man, this
is
is what it's
kind of a
about.
dream come true because like I think it's an awesome first podcast. Maybe my
Let's get
formatting
it,
might
bro.
not be the greatest, but
Oh, don't
honestly,
stress
you
about that,
guys
bro. It's the execution.
coming in
Yo,
and
we got
talking,
Sook in
yeah.
Korea. We got Cvatic. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just that's what's the beauty of it. Everyone's so focused on like the details. Like, just am I lagging?
No, you're fine.
Okay, sick. I look like I was lagging on my end, but point is that like this is what's beautiful about it. It's like everyone's so focused on the details and like bro, like it's just do it, execute it. You know what I'm saying? We had Sook who was like, I'm a collector, and then she executed an idea. That's fucking art, bro. Like,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's kind of a play, right, on drifts where my bands go a little bit. I don't, unless you came
Definitely.
first. I don't want to assume. Yeah.
I couldn't have come first.
Hey,
Like,
people have been
actually,
taking pictures of their feet hanging off of stuff
Yeah.
since 2013 Instagram.
yeah, but I really admire thrift shoots, even though it's like illegal. But I did have an opportunity to collect one of his. Like it was a I actually two, one fractional NFT, and then the other one was like just free to mint for anyone that was like whitelisted or something. So
Oh,
I
the
like
open
minted right
edition,
away.
man? That open
Yeah,
edition?
the first
Yeah,
day
yeah,
out,
yeah, yeah.
like yeah. I really had the honor to collect that. And then actually that like pushed me to launch my collection. I was like,
that's
you
amazing.
know, we can't afford drifts. It's too expensive. And then I'm not gonna climb like skyscrapers for just to
But buy
take a
Sook.
photo of my
It's a
suit.
cheap drift. I'm joking, not cheap, but like it's an alternative, right?
Yeah, it's alternative. It's a common fit. And then I just want people to like, I don't know, how do you say it? You relate to the photo and feel
It's
like
way
you
more
can,
relatable.
For
Hmm.
Drift
sure.
like allows for people to like get a new perspective. You do as well, but the way I see it is like that's something that I can do. I'm not gonna be
yeah,
on this
That's
definitely.
bridge.
the art.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think the thing with drifts is you're seeing him there. With Sooks, you're seeing yourself there.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'd agree.
Hmm.
And you can replicate
Yeah.
it, right? Like I don't know. At the end of the day, and like I love Drift's work, like super, like a big pillar in the space, But I'm not climbing the skyscraper. I've done that before, but now I won't. There's a lot of risk, and I appreciate that. Like that's cool. The cool part about it is that we can all have a unique approach to how we showcase our art. That's beautiful.
I agree,
And
and
then I
and
want,
everybody's art is conveying its own the author's message. With that, Suk, I was hoping to kind of go. I don't know if you're all in the same rotation, but could you give us some closing thoughts, and we'll just go through everybody and
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. It was really my pleasure to be on your first show.
thanks.
I think this will be a great start to many more to come. And thank you for, like just being so inviting. Like this space is so inviting, but Ashton is like a gem, like a hit. I don't know if
Oh,
he
thank
was
you.
hidden or not, but I feel like I spotted a gem in this NFT space, and
Oh,
I'm
stop
so
this.
lucky. I was so lucky to connect with so much great people and that people that just see something in my artwork, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm already halfway there. And then
Oh,
I
thank you.
really want to invite your feet to Seoul, to Korea, and definitely you should check it out. You see these amazing Netflix and K-pop and everything. It's from here. It's from Korea. I really want to take a photo of all our feet together, like in a circle.
Oh,
So
we'll get it. We'll get
definitely,
it.
yeah, definitely come. And I don't know about Steve. Maybe we should meet in his backyard
Yeah.
instead.
Just put an iPad on the ground. I'll show my feet that way.
He doesn't leave
Or
the
we
house.
will we'll have a good group chat, I guess. But yeah, definitely I really want people to feel connected, even if this is like a very um saddening or depressing time for us to be locked down or like staying indoors most of the time. But yeah, definitely get your feet out there to meet great people and just you know take a rest,
I
take a
love
break.
this.
Mhm.
Yeah, I want to reinforce what you said about Ashton because one, you're my first guest. Two, you invited two more awesome guests. And then
Oh, thank you.
three, man, I mean, you didn't have any content to reference. So I just really appreciated that you gave me an opportunity to host you. And with that, I was wondering
Yeah,
if you
no
had some
problem, man.
closing thoughts. Yeah, thanks.
So for the most part, like, I just really believe in like calling people in as opposed to calling out. And that's like, how I operate. Like, I think there's so much talent in the space that like I can communicate myself and express myself. You can connect with me, but I also like to connect with other people and just highlight their skills and talents, right? I feel like oftentimes like you kind of want to have complementary relationships. Like everyone's super talented in what they do individually, but like as a collective, like we bring skills to the table, like and that's what's beautiful. Like I can learn from everyone in this space right now in this podcast, and I can learn something new. And I that's like just my approach is how it's always been.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I think inclusion is going to get us really far. So I hope to
Mm-hmm.
like really implement the same. In fact, I've been humbled a lot of times where I'm like, oh, that's not a good collaboration. That's not on brand, or this
Yeah,
person's not doesn't have like the spark that. And then they just like I've just been awestruck too many times to have that pride anymore too. So I think I can
for
really move
sure.
forward with that.
No doubt,
Cvatic,
no doubt, homie.
Steven, do you think you've got some closing thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't even know this is your first podcast. That's so cool that you had Ashton on and he brought us on.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool that you're doing this. I really like the message. I really like the entire idea of looking into Web3 and how it can take us out of Web3 in a weird way. It's really cool.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, definitely. I think Web3's like not to take away from our lives, and I think a lot of people perceive it that way, but to like really enhance them, to enable us to do certain things that break certain barriers and allow us to do things that we didn't do before. And I think Twitter's not Web3, but at the same time, Web3 brought us here. We've all met on Twitter. It's been phenomenal. Really, it's been phenomenal getting to know you guys and just surround myself with like great people that I barely feel like I belong in the room with. So I really
For
appreciate
sure.
it. And Ashton, man, thanks for letting me
Wait, you're
host you.
gonna hang out for a bit. You're gonna hang out for 5 more minutes after they leave, right?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's do
I'm
it.
good.
All right, thanks, homies.
Okay, I'm gonna leave
You guys
for
have a
you
good day.
guys.
Good night.
Yeah,
Ciao.
thank you guys so much for having
Thank
me.
you.
All right,
Nice to meet
homies,
you,
take care.
Sook.
I'll talk to you soon. Ciao.
Bye, guys.
Bye.